Hello everyone, I'm Mark and I'm going to show you my level within the Squadron Tales game. At first, as the player, you will enter the facility and you will find two crates that you must move using the grapnel. Then you will enter a room full of acid that you must cross in order to proceed to the next area. You must jump from platform to platform onto the containers to gather some scraps that are located in difficult to access places. Once you're done collecting them, you can go back and onto the next room. You will proceed through the abandoned facility, crouching or jumping over obstacles, and then you will make it to the next room, which is also covered in acid. Here you must open the door by interacting with 6 switches that are located throughout the room, and in order to access them you must carefully jump your way through. You will get some visual and some audio feedback once you interact with the switches. If you fall to the acid pool, you will be sent to the last checkpoint you've been in. There's one at the beginning of the room and there's another one in the middle to facilitate the level. As soon as the 6 switches have been pressed, you will hear some feedback and the door will open. In this next corridor you can choose to go left or right. On the left there is a small room with some danger and some scraps to collect. And then you must go back and onto the next room. Here there are 4 pressure plates on the ground and you must put physical objects on top of them. In this case it's the crates. But of course it's not as straightforward as it sounded, so you must make your way up to reach the higher places where the crates are located, and to collect some additional scraps. You must utilize the environment to reach the higher places. Then you must move the crates onto the pressure plates and you will hear some audio feedback. And as soon as all 4 of them have been placed, you will be able to proceed to the next area. In the next area you must climb your way up the beams after collecting some scraps that are located here on the left hand side. And in this next area you are gonna have to proceed through the next room full of acid, but to do so you need to do something here first. Before we get into that, you have a room with some loot activated via switch. Then you go back to the main room, and here what you have to do is you move some crates onto pressure plates, and these will actually cause a catwalk to descend in the next room that will allow you to cross it. Because right now there's nothing there and there's no way for you to go through. So as soon as you put the second crate on the pressure plate, the catwalk will descend and you will be able to proceed. You must be careful as jumping down the acid is gonna take you back to a checkpoint. But now you're able to cross. As soon as you make it to this split, if you go right you will find a room with some loot and with some dangerous acid pools. And then you backtrack and you enter the final mechanic room. So here you must make your way to the other side, but to do so you need to go up, climb your way up with careful jumps here and there, crouching under some objects. Of course we've placed some checkpoints here to make it less frustrating when you fall down. But the idea is that you must carefully make your way from beam to beam, from beam to catwalk, etc. Here you have to jump down in a difficult jump, making sure you don't fall to your death. There's also some pieces of loot to collect along the way. Once you do that, you will reach the final room in which you will have to interact with the final console, granting you access to the final area, to the next area. Sorry.
My name is Sebastian Douglas, and this is my portion of Squadron Tales. To get inside the warehouse, you must first put a crate onto the pressure plate. Once inside, you will see a blueprint. It tells you that there are a total of 10 needed to leave. In the room immediately to the right, you will find a switch to the generator. The generator allows the crane and elevator to be used. In the next hallway, you will see 2 rooms. one on the right, one on the left. The one on the right contains one of the needed blueprints, while the one on the left contains a puzzle. The puzzle requires you to put the switches in the positions of the chairs. The left and right switch need to be pulled down. This will open up the safe and allow you to collect more of the blueprints. You then take the elevator up to the second floor. Once on the second floor, you head to the right and activate the crane. Activating the crane will bridge the gap to the next room and also reveal a room below it. Once inside the boss's office, you will find a blueprint on his desk and a switch on the other side of the desk. This switch drops the glass wall and allows you to collect 2 pieces of cash. In the room below, you will find the final blueprint piece. In order to leave the warehouse, you must put a crate onto the final pressure plate, but this pressure plate will not work unless you have all the blueprint pieces. You are then free to leave and go to the next level.
Hello, this is Jonathan. Welcome to my area. First, you will begin off in a forest. The player will encounter 3 boxes as well as a note on the right hand side on the tree, which will give hints throughout the level as to what to do and where certain collectibles and objectives are. The player will first have to use a set of boxes and crates to climb up and jump over the fence. The player will then enter into a small courtyard area where they will have to find various items and tools in order to enter the building. The first area will be a storeroom that will be opened through the use of a tool that they'll find behind the dumpsters. Once the player is inside, they will come across a shelf as well as some movable boxes that they will have to use in order to climb on top of the shelf. Up there will be a screwdriver or tool that will be used to open the door. This will cause the player to have to use the dremel in a small enclosed area in order to stack the crates and get on top of there. There is also a note on the corner that will hint towards where the tool will be. Once the player has done this, they will be able to unlock the door via the power panel on the wall. This will allow the player to enter the warehouse through this side. If the player chooses, they can also go through a second route, which is located on the top right side of the warehouse or the courtyard entrance. They will have to utilize the crates once again in order to stack on top of them, creating a staircase and then jumping across and onto. Once the player has stacked the crates into a staircase pattern, they will be able to proceed on to the next area. Once the player enters this area, they will be entering a docking bay. In the area there will be green gas that provides a danger to the player. There is also a panel in the top corner, as well as another panel which lowers the platform, allowing the player to continue. On both sides of the area there will be panels that can allow the player to access the other area without having to go through the puzzle again. Once the player has entered the warehouse, there is a small Easter egg collectible located on the shelves in the back. The player will proceed to the bottom floor, which will allow them to search for notes and hints throughout the area as well as the office that will explain to them how to utilize the system. There will also be an Easter egg in the office representing to the team that created this level as well as the previous group. Once the player has found all the notes, they will be able to activate the puzzle by utilizing the objects within the room. The first one being a crate placed on the first scale. The second will be the player jumping on the scale, as well as placing a barrel on the third scale. This will unlock the puzzle and activate the secret door located on the wall next to the scales. Once the player has entered, they can collect the files, which is an objective, and exit via a hidden wall in the back of the room.
Hello, my name is Michael Stokely, and this is my area in Squadron Tales. Not much has changed outside. You still have to collect the 2 collectibles and reach the door and press E on the control panel to open it. Inside, I have improved the lighting. I've brought down a different type of lighting than a point light. It was I want to say it was some different type of light. And around, it looked more like a area light. It was a point light. It was a point light instead of a spotlight. You still got to turn these valves in order to open the elevator, as well as pick up all the special collectible, the electro glove collectibles. Let the elevator break down and move that into place, so you don't get hit by the laser. Go over here and into this area and find out what you need to do to get out of this room. Nothing has changed here except for the lighting. It's kind of like that falls a lot quicker as well. This room hasn't changed much. I know I worked on a lot of spacing in this room. If you compare this video to the previous videos, it's a lot tighter space, simply to streamline it, I guess. This is showing how you can get by this turret laser, and I did fix the issue where it wasn't hitting the player. It now will hit the player for 20 health every 0.1 second. So quick deaths. The book will tell you to go and turn on these valves, which will start to rush the water in. I added this particle system just to add a sense of emergency to the situation. You go over here, open up the final elevator. I extended the animation for the elevator raising. There's no way, as I could find, to get rid of that jumping thing, but I extended the animation just to help out a little bit. And that was my area.
Hello, my name is Thomas Garrett, and welcome to my area in the level of Squadron Tales. So the player finds themselves on the top of the dunes, and they have to descend down the dunes, and on the side of the dunes is a falling tree which has a hidden cache collectible on it. Then the player makes their way into the sinking complex itself, and they find themselves on the second floor, which is the CEO suite, and in the side of the room is a library which has a collectible that's the complex blueprints. Behind the CEO desk is a interaction for the elevator door, and then they can crouch their way into the elevator shaft and make their way down into the laboratory area. Once in the laboratory area, the player has a choice to find hidden collectibles, noted with the red glow, and there's 2 different types of collectibles here. There are alkali metal collectibles as well as chemical filled beaker collectibles. And once the player has all of the collectibles they want to collect from the area, they make their way through the weakened wall on the far side of the laboratory, and they make their way into the office area. This office area has 5 distinct useful scrap collectibles, and when the the player has to collect all 5 of these collectibles. These are used in the next area for the generators. So if the player doesn't collect all 5 of these, they have to actually go back and collect them in order to activate the generators to progress through the rest of the level, the area itself. So now that the player has passed the crates and has entered the server room, they find the 5 generators that have been changed to just toggle on. So it's has a better interaction than previous. Now this is the optional warehouse area. The player has the decision to do this area or not. It has 2 cash collectibles on top of the warehouse shelves. And these shelving units are mesh, so it's really hard to see them without your flashlight on. So the player will use the flashlight and the stacking mechanic of the grapnel to try to make their way up onto these shelving units. And if they decide to do so, this area in shelving units has those 2 collectibles, but it's not necessarily needed in order to complete the level, the area of the level. Excuse me. So once the player is up, they have 2 collectibles. One's on the highest shelving unit, and the other one's on the far side, right by the entrance of the warehouse. And so this allows the player to fully do the jumping puzzle mechanic of the warehouse itself. So this warehouse is designed to make the player kind of angry. It's a jumping puzzle. It takes a little bit of skill. I've even failed it, but it's really fun when you get used to it. It has good mechanics, and the interaction themselves, there's no sliding on top of the shelving units because the colliders themselves are stretched to where the player can solidly fit onto it and not fall between any cracks and crevices. So once the player is able to complete the area or not, then they move on to the next area beyond the server room, which is the laser room. And the laser room has block turrets because you activated all 5 of the generators in the server room, and it has an interaction here that opens up the vault to where you can get the area collectible, which is the gem treasure, and you're up the hill and into the next area.
Hi there, my name is Gary Kosher, and I'll be showing you my final area. After jumping over some crates to get over a locked fence, the player will approach the main door of the Bass Mansion. By approaching it, they will see that it is still locked and that they'll have to go activate the generator, which is in the backyard. To get to the backyard, the player will have to crouch under some statues while collecting a battery collectible and jumping over some electrified water due to the generator. By jumping over this water, the player will be able to interact the generator by pressing E, which will cue the audio. The player will take damage when they fall in the water, since it was electrified. After jumping back over, the player will crouch under the statue again and return to the main yard. At this point, the main entrance to the Bass Mansion will be open. In the main hall of this mansion, there will be a large computer terminal with a battery collectible in front of it. The player will approach this terminal and find that there are puzzles that need to be solved for each area. This first one is solved by pressing a button on the statue's right leg. Entering the first room, there are several collectibles the player is able to get while exploring the mansion. From here, the player will have to move a pushable block to open the next door. This scale puzzle will be solved by moving a gold bar onto the opposite side of the scale. Doing so will trigger some audio and will also move a pedestal. Once this pedestal moves, there will be a button that was hidden behind it that is now visible to the player. The player will be able to interact with this button and collect the remaining collectibles in the room and proceed to the next area of the mansion. From here, the player will have to read a scroll which explains and gives a hint as to which statue has the hidden button. Once again, it will be pressing E to activate the button. From here, the player will have to stack up some concrete slabs to reach a button that's hidden up on top of this large stone pedestal. The slabs are a lot easier to move now, which makes the stacking puzzle a little bit quicker and easier for the player to solve. The player will also be able to reach a collectible up near the button. By pushing this button, the final door of the Bast's mansion will be revealed, which was hidden in the main hall the whole time. This room will contain many of the Bast's trophies and awards, the most important one being his ceremonial saber, but to get to it, the player must place the correct metal on top of this pressure plate. By doing so, the player will reveal the final hidden collectible of the game, which is the ceremonial saber. This is the Bast's most prized possession. There will also be a helicopter ignition key in the container. Once the player collects these, he will run back out of the mansion, and by turning right will be greeted by his exit from the level, a helicopter, which he now has the key to start. Thank you for playing Squadron Tales, and please give us any feedback you can on our gold build. Thank you.